Hey there, John from FatSexBlog.com. Today's presentation is a case study, which goes like this. I bought a site, I spent $30,000. Now here's what happened. I'll step you through the numbers, the last couple of years, and final valuation, and you can decide whether it was a good strategy. Before we jump into what that strategy was and the ultimate outcome, this presentation is brought to you by zoic. Now, zoic is a high-tech platform, and what it does is it will allow you to basically pepper your site with ads everywhere. And what it will do is fire various configurations of your ad split testing. And over time, it will determine on a URL by URL basis what is the best configuration for maximum revenue. Basically, split test thousands of variations so that every time a visitor arrives to your site, it will display ads in a way that optimizes the most revenue for your site. So if that sounds like a good deal, I use zoic. I think it's a great deal. Check them out today. Now, this is a case study about a multi-niche site. In around 2015, I bought an established site. The niche it was in was a movie review site. Now, I thought the movie review site was okay. I was naive. It's terrible. Unless you can get millions, and I mean millions, of page views as a movie review site, which is not easy, don't get into it. The ad revenue per 1,000 visitors is deplorable. Now, when I bought it, it was 8 years old at the time. Aside from the fact it made practically no money, it was a really, really good site. The content was outstanding. The guy who owned it was it was a passion project. He didn't make any money. The server costs basically resulted in revenue was zero. And he ran this thing as a hobby, really, but it was really well done, and it had tons of inbound links. I mean, this guy didn't do any sort of spammy SEO or anything. It was a totally legit site with 20,000 posts, had 250 to 500,000 monthly visitors, which sounds like a ton, but it's peanuts in movie reviews, really. And at the end of the day, it was really losing money. Yet, I recognize the fact that it had high DA, a lot of natural inbound links, really good content, decent traffic, and I thought, oh, okay, well, it's worth something. Anyways, back and forth. I paid $10,000. So I paid way more than it was worth based on a net income basis, but the fact the site did have a lot of other attributes and things going for it, so I thought, give it a shot. Buy it. Turns out I didn't really know what I was doing. I didn't have a plan for it, but I bought it anyway. All right. Basically, before I pulled the trigger on this, I thought I could increase ad revenue. I thought basically, oh, I'll put more ads on there, try some different ad networks, I'll double the RPM, and essentially turn a profit overnight. I was wrong. No matter what you do with a movie review site, it's not going to make money. Now, maybe I made mistakes. Maybe there is a way to do it. The only real way that I could figure out is if you can get 10 million page views a month, then you probably make some pretty good money. But this site wasn't anywhere close to that. All right, so I kicked this thing along. I basically gave up on the whole movie review angle and just let it sit for some time. And the trouble was I couldn't come up with a lucrative niche related to movie reviews, at least none that I wanted to tackle. So what I decided to do is turn it into a guinea pig site because it had really good domain authority, and I wanted to switch it to some niche totally different, which is usually not recommended. Most SEOs I talked to at the time was some friends who do a lot of SEO, and they said typically not a good idea to basically buy a site in one niche and keep all that content and completely switch it to another niche. And it kind of makes sense, right? I mean, that's a little bit weird. But me being me, I decided to do it anyway. And not only did I decide to change niches, I decided to turn it into a multi-niche site. I thought, well, if it's going to if I'm going to switch niche and add other topics to it, if I add a whole bunch of other topics, maybe it won't look so weird, okay? So essentially I went really broad. I mean, I'm talking like HuffPost without the good editorial into tech, lifestyle topics, travel, fashion, food, animals, listicles, business, money, etc., on and on. Anything I can think of listicle-wise, it got slapped up there, all right? Looking back, I mean, I think it was more ambition than brains. I poured on the content, and when the smoke cleared, so far, I've added about 460 articles. So what happened? Okay, I started pouring on the content in about halfway through 2018, maybe the fall of 2018, all right? And what happened was I was adding probably 2 fairly long articles a day, And traffic started growing really, really fast, and it was awesome. I thought, oh, wow, boy, I was smart. Great idea. So I just started any niche I wanted. I was just throwing stuff up there, and it was ranking pretty good. I was still doing my usual MO, which is target fairly low competition, long tail stuff. But because I was basically didn't care about which niche I covered, I could find some pretty good topics with very low competition, but half decent search volume. So I was just slapping them up there. And I was trucking along, and traffic was growing fairly quickly. So I went from about maybe a little bit over 1,000, 1,500 visitors a day. I started pouring on the content, and it grew and grew right up until for about a full year from that till about fall 2019, and peaked out at about 7,000, 7,500 visitors per day. And by that point, I thought, well, this is great. I could just keep growing this thing pretty much on autopilot, right up to tens of thousands of visitors per day, and it would be a great investment. And then it plateaued. And then it started going a little bit down. So by the end of 2020, it was in a downward, basically, trajectory of traffic, which wasn't good. And I didn't really know what to do. I was still throwing some content on it. And then somewhere around November, I believe, 2019, traffic really dropped quite a bit, and then it kept dropping through early 2020, and somewhere around February or March, it started climbing again, but I don't know where that's going to go. But at the end of the day, when the smoke cleared, I went from a peak of about 7,500 visitors per day down to about 3,700 visitors per day. So a 50% drop. And I'm still throwing content on there. That's not a good sign. So in early 2020, I threw in the towel. I stopped investing in content and just let it sit. It was back to the drawing board. What am I going to do? I basically realized that a multi-niche site may be not the best idea. Of course, once I did that, now traffic's growing again. I don't know if it's going to actually grow to any substantial level. I'll kind of wait and see, maybe, not sure what I'm going to do, okay? But at the end of the day, nice rise up, too many niches. I don't think it was a great strategy, and it started going down. So where is it at right now? So this site is basically hit about 4,000 daily visitors. Remember, its peak was 7,500 daily visitors, so it's still way down. Revenue in March 2020 was 1,430, and that, you got to keep in mind, ad rates have been pretty bad thanks to coronavirus. All right, but if we give it a current valuation, let's do a 30 multiple. That might be a little bit low just because the site has high DA and it's quite an old site, very well-established site. But let's give it a 30 times 1,400 revenue. It gives it a value of 45,000. Now I think it's worth more if ad rates go up. Typically, I think the ad revenue should be closer to 40, 50 bucks a day, which would increase that. But let's be conservative here, 45,000. Now the cost of content, I said I had to put about 450 articles on this thing over the course of a year and a half. That content cost me about 30,000 bucks, give or take. All right, so. But during that same time, I've earned roughly $25,000 with commissions and ad revenue and so forth. I paid $10,000. So when the smoke clears, my net profit on this site over a number of years of holding it is about 30,000 bucks, plus a fair amount of my time in trying to figure out what to do with it. I don't think it's the best result, but it's better than a kick in the teeth, but it's not the best result. And so what can we take away from this? Okay, I think there's two morals of the story right here. And the first is the everything in the kitchen sink site idea is probably not the best strategy. It seems attractive. Your site's growing. You're getting links. You get your domain authority's growing. You want to leverage that domain authority. You want to rank for more keywords. You start veering outside and start tackling other niches. Eventually, you're hitting unrelated niches, and you think you can just keep growing. I think it was a bad strategy. I think if I had chosen one of those niches and focused on that, I wouldn't be where I'm at right now. I think traffic would have kept going. But anyways, it's a good learning experience, and it's not a disaster. It's not a catastrophe. I haven't lost money, but at the end of the day, I certainly haven't taken advantage of the opportunity that was presented to me. The bigger moral of the story is this, is if you're going to buy a site, and it doesn't matter if the site's like $1,000 or $10,000 or $100,000, if you're going to buy it, make sure you got a good plan for it. See, I didn't have a plan for this site. My plan was oh, I'm wicked smart with ads. I'm going to put ads on this site the way I do it, and I'm going to double the value and the revenue overnight just because I know what I'm doing. No, you know what I didn't do? I failed to investigate the niche. Now, the movie reviews niche, no matter how many ads you put on the site, is not going to pay because that is just not a lucrative niche. You can get all the clicks on the ads you want, but they're not going to pay very much no matter what you do, okay? What you need to do is get 10, 20 million visitors a month, and then you might make okay money. So I didn't investigate properly. Once again, I didn't do my due diligence properly. I bought it. I had no plan other than to think I could just add a bunch of revenue with putting more ads on it, and that was a failure. That didn't work. When that didn't work, I didn't have a plan. I didn't have a content plan. I didn't really care to stay in the movie review niche because, well, that wasn't lucrative. It wasn't paying, and it's a lot of work to manage a lot of content, and the traffic, I mean, it was up 500,000, and the effort that the previous owner put into this thing was Herculean, and I didn't want to do that to break even. So I didn't have a plan. I didn't have a related niche that was more commercially viable to jump into, and I still don't, and there it sits, and I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with it, but it is a learning experience. I think potentially one day I will come up with an idea. I know I've been saying that for years about this site, so we'll see what happens. But have a plan if you're going to buy a site, because it doesn't matter how good that site is, when you buy it, you are paying current value of that site. And there is a big downside. You could lose the value of that site very quickly. So take care when you buy a site. I've certainly learned my lesson. Have a plan. I am sure I could have executed this a lot better had I had a plan, had I stuck to a good niche and had grown it consistently from the day I bought it. But hey, live and learn.